you a home grower looking for a little bit of help? Are you ready to learn as much as you can about your favorite hobby? The Homegrown Helpers brings you informative interviews from experienced growers that have taken the next steps in their journey and decided to help you grow top quality cannabis all in your home. Now welcome in our host, Rob Smith, along with this week's Homegrown Helper. Hey everybody, are you ready for this week's grow tips and tricks from another Homegrown Helper? All right, me too. Welcome to the show. What a great week it's been. I hope you guys are all having a great week. This week, our guest is fairly new to the consulting world, but what she lacks in longevity, she makes up for with passion for the plant. Alexandria Irons is out in Northern California putting her plants in the ground and connecting with nature to ensure her and her clients can grow the best cannabis possible. She favors the sun, but can help you grow indoors as well. I had a lot of fun on this interview. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I did. Have I told you guys about this grow journal that Jordan and I came up with yet? I think I mentioned it the last episode in passing, kind of, but I didn't really get into much detail about it. This is for members of mygrowpass.com only. And Jordan and I spent a good amount of time coming up with all of the fields and then kind of fine tuning it and then stylizing it and putting it out there into the world. And I have to thank Jordan's lovely wife for her help with all of the stylizing. That's not Jordan and my strong suit there, but she definitely helped bring it all together. So this journal is a printable journal and has several weeks for both veg and a complete flower cycle. Kind of has grow tips from the GrowCast team throughout the journal. And, you know, like we've talked about many times on this podcast before, you can't manage what you don't measure, and you're not going to improve your grow unless you're keeping track of things. And this was our way to give our members our thoughts on what needed to be tracked and a way to, you know, substantiate those claims and have growers improve, because that's what we're about here. I've mentioned it many times before. We want to help you grow better cannabis than you can buy in a dispensary. So with that being said, we want you to track everything in your grow, all the inputs, the results, your environmental changes, all of that type of stuff. And, you know, we decided to start off before taking a big leap and maybe creating an app or a printed bound journal down the road. This is just something that you can print out. It's a PDF and slap it on a clipboard and hang it up on the side of your grow room. And every day you're in there, you need to take notes and track what's happening with your plants. And we give you little reminders so that you can make sure you're paying attention to the right things. So we just want to help you become a better grower. That's what we're here for. So this week's 5-star review comes from Smug Sauce. The title is Wealth of Information. I am a new grower and this podcast is hitting it out of the park. Rob has some of the best guests on his show and asked all the same questions that I would ask. Can't wait for the new episodes to drop. Well, thank you, Smug Sauce. We hope you still feel the same and really appreciate you being a longtime listener and a fan of the show. And thank you to all the other reviewers out there. I really appreciate you taking the time. If you haven't yet, please do so and help us grow and reach more people with every other episode. Subscribe, share, rate, and review. That's what it takes from you. I like that. Subscribe, share, rate, and review. That's what it takes from you. This week's MyGrowPass.com partners are Fishhead Farms and their product Fish Shit. It's aquaponics in a bottle. They give every listener a sweet 10% discount over at fishheadfarms.com with code GROWCAST. Our other friends, Sweet Leaf, give 15% at Sweetleaf, SUITELEAF.com using code GROWCAST15. And both of those partners offer our members an amazing 25% off discount through our member portal. Sign up today to take advantage of all of our member discounts at mygrowpass.com. So let's get on with the show and welcome in Alexandria Irons. Welcome to the show, Alexandria.
Hi. Hey, Rob.
Alexandria, why don't we just start us off with telling the audience a little bit about yourself, like your company name, where you're located, and how long you've been growing cannabis.
Yeah, so my company is called Queen of the Sun LLC, and I am from Northern California. I'm located in Nevada County, and I have been growing cannabis for just under 3 years, actually. But I have been gardening my entire life. Localized food production and self sufficiency are important values in my life. So, since I've been self medicating with cannabis since I was, you know, a teenager, it made sense to just jump into growing.
Great, great. And what made you decide to take that next step and start helping other people learn how to grow?
Um, well, it was a long, complicated journey. Um, about 3 years ago, I met my ex partner who had been growing for 10 years, and I learned so much from him. And we decided that we were going to start a cannabis brand. And so I started a company called Royal Crest Cannabis and began doing marketing and sales throughout Northern California. We received the second cultivation license after recreational was passed in 2018 here in Nevada County. And, it was probably one of the hardest things I have ever done. And I did all of this on my own. The licensing, I was at city council meetings, I was at the state capitol, I was speaking up, I was participating on every level. And I just saw how hard they were making it for small farmers. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to become a consultant and I'm going to help in all areas. And that kind of evolved to me helping home growers grow their own cannabis. I mean, we've seen with legalization, the tax increase, and it's actually been very hard on patients. Prior to recreational legalization, California had a thriving medical market where we were actually able to donate a large portion to patients. And now with legalization, that is illegal. And so it is my goal to help people grow their own medicine because I believe that cannabis truly is a magical, amazing medicinal plant and everyone can incorporate into their life.
Awesome. Very cool story there. We're very big on the show that, one of our sayings is this plant returns everything that you're able to put into it. So put love and energy and respect into the plant, and it's going to return that tenfold with quality medicine to, make you even happier and feel even better on the back end. So very cool mission there. And thanks for doing that.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't agree more. Definitely.
So tell me about your current grow setup, whether that's indoor or strictly outdoor right now, the size of the space, the number of plants, the type of soil. Give us a rundown so that we can get a better understanding of your grow style.
Yeah. So, this summer was actually my first summer growing 100% on my own without anyone's opinions or interjections. Um, so, me and my partner split up, and I moved towards this consulting company and doing growing just for research and development and personal use. And so I'm currently growing 3 full-term plants. The limit in California for personal is 6, but I just went ahead and did 3, but they are in the ground. I'm a huge proponent of planting in the ground. I can't stress this enough. Native soil has all of the natural biomes that will help your plant build up resistances and tolerances to the environment that it is in. The biological life that is available in the soil, it's all right there. It's native soil is 85% mineral. When you buy potting soil, you're buying organic matter that's going to just be depleted. And it's really understanding soil science, the soil food web, and how to unlock what is in your native soil to make it plant available. So I think if you have the availability, plant directly in the ground. My plants, this is the first year that I have been able to do this, and they are amazing. I mean, I've got two 11-foot tall plants and one that's about 7 feet tall. And I didn't put them in the ground until June 22nd.
Wow. Late, huh?
Yeah, I mean, when you're not in a container, those roots just have all the world to grow out and expand, and it's been amazing. Yeah, and so think about that: two 11-foot tall plants and a 7-foot tall plant. I really don't need more than 3 plants for just me with
Right,
that.
right. So do you only grow outdoor at this point in time, or do you plan on having an indoor setup come winter? Or is this going to last you, a good majority after the season?
I learned how to grow indoor, and that's not who I am. I'm queen of the sun, baby. I love to be outside in the sun, and I have so many different things going on in my life with cannabis, with consulting, that I will not. I might have some experiment with some autoflower seeds inside this winter just
Sure.
for R&D, but there's nothing set in stone yet.
Cool.
Where I'm located, some of my clients have fancy greenhouses, and you can grow pretty much all year round outside here in the greenhouse. So I'll be present in the garden all year round, but I don't think I will be growing much myself.
Cool.
Inside.
Cool. Nothing wrong with that. Now, I'm a big plant energy kind of guy, so I have to dig into the putting your plants right into the ground, and you said it. Those roots are going to stretch and get huge and just really go on forever. But how do you feel about the plant energy? And, if it's constantly growing roots, it's not completely transferring all that energy into flower production. So I've always thought there was a benefit to having, even if you went with 500-gallon smart pots or a large container in that sense, because the root zone would reach a point and then it wouldn't continue to grow anymore. How do you feel about that? And obviously you've seen the results. I mean, you have an 11-foot or two 11-foot tall plants, but do you think the plant is still expending energy on, root development when it could be just focusing on the flower development?
No, I think that, so I study a lot of carbon sequestration through grasslands, and the bigger your root zone is, your rhizosphere, the more biomass you will have above ground. As above, so below. And so the bigger your root structure, the bigger your plant is, and I can send you pictures. My flowers are huge. It's like I said, being in the ground versus in a container, you have everything available. All of the nutrients are there. And whatever the plant needs, it can access in the native soil versus having to feed it in some kind of a potting soil, because a potting soil it isn't soil, it is a soilless media. And so, I hear people say things about like, oh, clay soil, you can't grow in clay. Well, clay is actually one of the best soils to grow in if you can understand the science behind unlocking those nutrients. So where I'm at, it is high clay soil. And I went ahead and I took a pickaxe and I dug into the ground about 1.5 feet, 5 by 5 square. And I pulled out all of the big rocks and kind of just moved things around. And then I amended with a lot of different kelp meal, and I put some BioLive from Down to Earth. I used some spent cocoa from past gardens because I had grown in smart pots above ground for the last 2 summers.
Sure.
So I combined this all with my native soil, some humus, some glacial rock dust. And the thing with clay and all of that native soil is that it is ionically charged. So that means that it has a negative charge to this particle. And what that does is it binds to nutrients that are positively charged, like calcium, or to hydrogen molecule in water, and it holds onto it. And it makes it so that it is more available to the plant through the process of breaking down with bacteria and enzymes. And so I really feed my soil. I don't feed my plant. I am putting in fungal food, which is malted grains and sugars for the bacteria, and inoculating it with different microbials and fungus and compost. And I have a worm farm, and I harvest my own castings, and I'm brewing enzyme tea and worm tea and feeding the soil. And so I can't stress enough that it is night and day. I am proponent in the ground. It is just that everything that you're talking about, that energy. I mean, everything is connected. Everything in life has a relationship with one another. The plants are communicating with each other, with the bacteria, with the protozoa, with the nematodes. And there's no better way than just learning how to work together.
I love that attitude. I love it. So, Alexandria, what are a few of the things that a new grower should be focusing on when it comes to growing the healthiest plants?
I think that observation is really key when you want to understand your plant health. And so I highly recommend that a new grower goes out and you get a notebook. You treat this as a science experiment. And so each of my plants, I write down from the very beginning how long it took the seed to germinate, what day it was, what time. I just take notes and treat it as a science experiment, and pay attention to your color of your plants, to the serrated leaf edges, if they are, curling in, or when you're transplanting, observe the roots. What color are they? How dense is it? I started out with 57 seedlings in January, and I did a pheno hunt, and I went through and I made notes about every single seedling, and I marked this pot. Okay, I know this one had a great root system. This is definitely a keeper. And so I just say observation. Treat it as an experiment and be open-minded and read your plant. And if you keep careful notes, anytime you do something like, oh no, what's going on? My plant is looking, there's some burning on it. And then you can go back and you can look at your notes and you can say, well, I increased my feeding, or I watered too much this day, and it must be that. And you can kind of go through a process of elimination and really figure out what's going on with your plant. And so I would just say paying attention, that is the best thing that you can do.
Great. Yeah. We're very much proponents of journaling and even taking pictures. Obviously we promote consultants in the industry, and sometimes those consultants are brought into a horror picture, a horror scene, wilting plants or overfed plants or nutrient lockout. And it's critical for a grower to be able to say, here's my journal. This is what my plants are doing. This is what I've done to them. Help me overcome this. And the more notes, the better, and pictures to go along with that. We actually are getting ready to release by the end of September a Grow Pass. It's our membership program, Grow Pass, and we're releasing a Veg and Bloom journal PDF for our members to be able to use. All the basic inputs and then notes and some tips and things to look at. So really cool stuff. We're very big fans of that here.
Awesome. I love it. I'll have to get me one.
Cool. Yeah, I'll send you a copy for sure.
Rad.
So in your opinion, what is the single highest leverage move a grower can do in order to increase the yield off of a single plant?
Well, I'm going to say, if you're outside, put it in the ground.
All right, let's say we're inside. What are you going to do?
I am going to say CO2 enrichment.
Okay.
Basic plant science, CO2 is the essential molecule for photosynthesis in plant life. So the plant breathes in CO2 through its stomata, those little openings in the leaf surface. And with a combination of light and water, photosynthesis occurs and it creates a new molecule. And so this molecule is C6H12O6. And this is similar to sugar. And this is what feeds the plant. So when a plant receives more CO2 than they require to sustain their own life, the plant will store this extra food in other areas of its body. And so for cannabis, this is the flower or nug. So you see amazing increase in yield with the addition of CO2 enrichment. In fact, I participated in drafting the local cannabis ordinance, and they were going to ban CO2 enrichment. And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. You're limiting grows here to, a very small size for commercial, and you're not going to allow people to have CO2 enrichment. And they really just didn't understand the science. They actually
did they skip 7th grade biology class?
Yeah, I think so.
Like plants really need sun, water, and CO2, guys. Like that's how we breathe. Is they take in the CO2 and they produce oxygen.
Yeah.
Like I thought we covered that very early on.
I was blown away. And so with a little, I just told them exactly what I just said about the CO2. And I sent them some Harvard studies on CO2 enrichment and increasing tomato yield. And it's proven, atmospheric CO2 is about 400 ppm, which, by the way, is the first time in human history that it has gone over 350 parts per million. So climate change is real, and we should be aware of this.
Wow.
But for my indoor, I would like to set that between 1,200 and 1,500 ppm, and then go ahead and pull out some of that CO2 at night. And so if you have a flower and a veg room, what you can go ahead and do is funnel out some of the CO2 at night from your flower room and go ahead and throw it into your veg room so that you're not actually pumping in, having to CO2 enrich both rooms. You can kind of just recycle that.
Oh, that's a good tip.
Yeah.
What's your favorite enrichment practice? What's your advice for enriching the CO2 up, 3 to 4x?
There are different ways. I use a CO2 burner in my indoor room.
Okay.
But what I am really interested in doing is getting a mushroom room going and funneling the CO2 in from the mushrooms to the flower room. So get this, fungus is more closely related to humans than it is to plants because fungus breathes in oxygen and gives off CO2. And so with plants, it's the other way around. They're breathing in CO2, giving off oxygen, but fungus actually absorbs the oxygen, gives off CO2. And I have a girlfriend, an acquaintance, I'd say. She grows mushrooms in a shipping container, and her exhaust went out, and her levels were 1,700 to 1,800 ppm CO2 in one shipping container of shiitake mushrooms.
Wow.
So I'm all about that closed loop. If you can do it sustainably and figure out a way of, just like I said, everything's connected, working together and finding the different puzzle pieces of how you can use one species to benefit another. That is my goal. If I do have another indoor room going, I want to get a mushroom room going right next to it and be using that CO2.
Right on. Plus, that's a whole nother business venture, like your friend there with the shipping container full of shiitake mushrooms.
Exactly. And mushrooms are expensive.
Yeah, especially good ones, right?
Hell yeah.
So I personally have used the exhale bags, which is kind of the same concept. It is, mycelium growth on a peat brick, and then if allowed to go for too long, they'll grow mushrooms on that mycelium. And I've also used the tanks, but my advice with the tanks is that, the wrong type of CO2, I think it's the beverage grade CO2, actually comes with some moisture in it. So it's a little more added humidity that you need to worry about. So, obviously you're running CO2 when the lights are on, so the humidity should be a little bit easier to manage. And make sure that CO2 tank is, not pumping into the room at nighttime because it'll definitely help spike that humidity in that room over nighttime.
Oh, yeah.
And also get a CO2 monitor would be my advice, because you can get CO2 levels up too high, right, Alexandria?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And you don't want to go and spend a lot of time in a room that has really high CO2 levels. Definitely, like I said, if you're going to be manipulating the environment, then you need to know what you're doing. Don't just do things because you think, oh, CO2 enrichment, I got to do this. No, if you're going to bring in a CO2 burner, tanks, then you need to have the proper environmental controls, and you need to be able to see what your ppm is and your atmospheric levels. In fact, my ex-partner, he worked in a warehouse commercial grow in Reno, Nevada, and they had to install a emergency CO2 shut off if the levels went too high, because at high levels it can be toxic and you can pass out, and it's not something to be taken lightly.
Not even just for humans, but there is CO2 toxicity for our plants as well. When the CO2 levels get up too high, it kind of, stunts growth and kind of stifles the plant. They don't breathe that well. When I think it's over like 1,800 to 2,000 ppm, somewhere in there,
yep.
They start to have ill effects to too much. Just like us, too much oxygen and we can actually die. Like pure oxygen can actually kill a human being. So think about that.
Yep. And I wanted to add one thing about your exhale blocks. So those fungal blocks that you have, that you can actually reuse those and create a fungal dominant compost, and go ahead and break those up and put it in with some biochar and inoculate that with compost that has all of your native bacteria, fungus, nematodes, protozoa, and then go ahead and reuse that as top dressing for your outdoor plant or indoor.
Pro tip right there. Great. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So we're going to take a quick break for our sponsors here at the Homegrown Helpers. First up, we have Fishhead Farms and their leading product, Fish Shit. You can use the code GROWCAST at checkout at fishheadfarms.com and save yourself 10%, or become a member and get 25% off your entire order. This is a product that you're going to use day in and day out, every feeding from veg all the way up till flour. So this is definitely a product that this 25% off discount code is going to return the dividends month after month after month. So Fish Shit is a full spectrum microbial product, an ecosystem in a bottle, if you will. Fish Shit can be used from seedling all the way through flush. Its ecosystem of microbes work to make nutrients more bioavailable, promoting sustainable growth throughout its life cycle and even breaking down salts when used as a flushing agent. It's basically a full service product. Their beneficial microbes aid in bud development, overall yield, terpene production, aroma, and taste. What more could you want? Grab your Fish Shit at fishheadfarms.com and use code GROWCAST at checkout to save 10%, while our GrowPass members save 25% on every order. Fish Shit, bring life back to your media. Our friends over at sweetleaf.com, with the premier veganic nutrient line, offer our listeners 15% using code GROWCAST15, that's GROWCAST15, and our members a whopping 25% off their full line of products. Sweetleaf is a premium vegan plant nutrient line that is made entirely in the US and actually distributed out of their temperature-controlled warehouse up in Maine. Sweetleaf's tagline is smart nutrients for smart growers, and I know a few growers, friends of mine and guests on Growcast podcast in the past, and one that's coming up very shortly. Hoda Herb is coming up, and Elaine Keevan, also known as the Original Outcast on Instagram, and they both have very, very high things to say about the product. Let's see if I can find what Hoda has to say. Oh, here's his testimonial. I'm really pleased with the Sweetleaf plant nutrient product. The last couple of harvests have been sticky and frosty as you know what. The flavors and terps are crisp and clean, and you can find Hoda Herb at JOTAHERB on Instagram, and you can check out a bunch of pictures of that product and the product in use. They also have a bunch of awards that I'd like to just give a quick rundown of. The High Time Stash Award for Best Nutrients of 2018, the 2018 Stash Award for Best Flavor Enhancer, and the 2017 High Times Award for Best CalMag Amendment. And their flowers have won a load of awards in competitions. So not only do the growers that use them believe in them, but lots of other third-party testers and judges, if you will, can stand behind that. So thanks to both Fishhead Farms and Sweetleaf. Again, those codes are GrowCast15 at sweetleaf.com and GrowCast at Fishhead Farms. Or get that 25% off discount code by becoming a member at mygrowpass.com. And welcome back to the show, guys. Hopefully you learned a little bit about one of our mygrowpass.com sponsors, or a couple of them, our partners there, and the great discounts that they offer. Alexandria, can you talk a little bit about one of your passions that we talked about before? And let's get into IPM in an indoor garden.
All right.
What are your protocols and any go-to items to keep your garden and your plants clean and healthy?
So IPM is a combination. It stands for Integrative Pest Management. And so we're integrating, different processes and procedures to make sure that we manage our pests. And so my first tip to every gardener is cultural practices. So this means don't let anyone into your garden. I'm sorry, don't show it off. I know that you want to, but if you want to keep pests out, unless you go ahead and you can make them shower, put it in a hairnet or something, put some gloves on. I just don't bring people into my indoor garden. Just don't do it. And then for yourself, like I'm saying, shower, clean clothes that you only wear in the garden, shoes that are only for your indoor. Keep your environment sterile and make sure that you limit the chance of pests getting in. And also what kind of a room you have. If you have a sealed off room where you're, controlling that environment, you have less likely a chance of bringing pests in through ducts and air exchange. So first of all, cultural. And then, we have our biological. And so biological would be keeping your plants healthy and then using interspecies relationships to combat pests. This could be predatory insects. But my favorite product for IPM is a fungus, and it's called Isaria fumosorosia. Try and say that five times fast.
You already lost me, so I'm not going to try.
So this fungus was turned on to me by the great mycologist, Paul Stamets. And I actually, I went to school for natural science and learned about this fungicide product in college. And basically what it does, it is a naturally occurring fungus that infects and kills several kinds of insects. So we like to call it the zombie fungus. It's not toxic to humans, and there haven't been any adverse ecological effects based on studies that I've read. But basically, this fungus targets whiteflies, thrips, aphids, and spider mites. So a lot of the common pest problems that we see in cannabis gardens. And you go ahead and you foliar spray this, and then you can do root drench if you're, depending on what pest you're trying to target, you'll foliar apply or a root drench. And it takes about 10 days for the fungus to kill the insects. But what it does is it just gets inside their bodies and grows inside them until they die.
Wow. Wild.
Yeah, it's a really amazing fungus, and I have used it for my outdoor garden for the cannabis aphids that are going around, and I have 100% eradication of the cannabis aphid using this fungus.
What was the name of that again?
So it's Isaria fumosorosia.
Okay. So guys, I'll link that up in the show notes. Don't try and spell it right now, but I'll do the work for you. and link that up in the show notes that you can find at thehomegrownhelpers.com.
Perfect.
So, Alexandria, what type of characteristics make the most successful growers? Is it persistence, patience, passion? What do you think makes up the most successful growers?
I think the beginner state of mind. I think that so many growers have this attitude that what they know is best, and that this worked for me for years and that's what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to make any changes. And I think keep your mind open, constantly learn, observe, and take in new information. Don't try everything, but look at it rationally, take in the information and say, oh, that's a great idea, and understand why you are doing what you are doing. So many people I ask, okay, what's your nutrient regimen? Or why do you do that? Why do you use that? What is in that product? And they don't know. They don't know why. So keep your mind open and understand what you're doing.
Great answer. Great answer. So we're going to be just about done here with the regular interview for the podcast. Make sure that you head on over to thehomegrownhelpers.com/bonus to gain access to the last 5 questions that we ask all our guests. Things like, what's your perfect grow look like? And if you were left on a deserted island with only one strain of flower or oil and one way to smoke it, what would they be? So if you want to hear Alexandria's answers to those 5 questions or any of our other guests, head on over to our bonus content page and gain access. You can download or listen to them right on the website. So, Alexandria, any last tips, tricks, bits of wisdom that you'd like to share with every grower listening to you right now?
Yeah, I would like to say, stay positive and grow with love. Like you said, you believe in the energy of the plant. And like I said, everything is connected. And I truly believe that the presence you have around your plants influences how they grow, how they produce, and what that end product comes out to be like, what it tastes like, how it makes you feel. And so stay positive in your garden. Tell your ladies you love them every day. Tell them to grow big and strong and make you that medicine, and everything's going to work out.
Just like your wife or your girlfriend, tell all the ladies in your life that they're beautiful every day, right?
Exactly.
So no matter how many plants, they love to hear it.
Oh, yeah.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Thank you so much for your time today. How can our audience connect with you and see what you're all about?
So you can connect with me on Instagram, Queen of the Sun LLC. I also have a YouTube channel, Queen of the Sun LLC, where I post weekly videos of, random educational gardening tips and tricks. I have a website being built right now, queenofthesunllc.com. You can email me at queenofthesunllc@gmail.com. And I teach a lot of workshops locally in Grass Valley and Nevada City. So if you're a local to Nevada County, come to one of my workshops. I volunteer with UC Davis Master Gardeners. I am always out and about, part of the community. Feel free. I love sharing advice, knowledge, and just talking.
Awesome. Yeah, it seems like not only do you have a passion for the plant, but you have a passion for the education side, which is really, really awesome to see.
Yep. Awesome.
So, folks, if you liked what you heard, please don't forget to head on over and grab that bonus content. We also have lots of other growing content available to you as part of the Growcast family of podcasts. If you don't already listen to Growcast, head on over and either in your favorite podcasting app like iTunes, Stitcher, or Spotify, you can just search Growcast. It's usually, it's the one with the purple cannabis leaf, not the self-improvement podcast with the capital CAST. I think you'll learn that pretty quickly. But we have lots of amazing guests over there as well. A little more generalized knowledge, not just focused on the consultants that are helping home growers. And we also really appreciate if you can give us a 5-star rating and a bit of a review just to help us continue to grow this podcast and reach more people and have more of an impact in the world. So thanks so much. And thank you again, Alexandria, for your time. But we're going to keep you around for those last 5 questions. Don't forget.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Happy growing, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.